Previously, Calvin's mother accused Gloria of cheating after claiming the baby did not resemble her son. A DNA test confirmed that Calvin was not the father. But when Gloria returned to the hospital in search of answers, she began to suspect something even more shocking. Desperate for the truth, she requested a maternity DNA test. 3 days later, Gloria returned to the hospital for the maternity DNA test results. She stared at the envelope, afraid of what the truth might reveal. With trembling hands, she tore it open. Her eyes scanned the paper. Probability of maternity, 0%. Gloria froze. The baby was not hers. Her body felt weak as the truth settled in. Then another thought struck her. "If he is not mine," she said slowly, "then where is the woman who gave birth that night? She must have my son." The nurse looked uncomfortable. "Her name is Colette Reed," she said quietly, handing Gloria a paper with her details. Everything suddenly felt wrong. Gloria drove straight to Cynthia's house, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. Calvin was sitting outside the gate on a bamboo bench beneath the mango tree. She walked toward him and placed the paper in his hands. "He is not mine either," she said softly. Calvin scanned the results, confusion spreading across his face. "But how is that possible?" he asked quietly. Gloria looked at him carefully. "Maybe we have been testing the wrong baby." Silence filled the air. Calvin's expression slowly shifted from confusion to shock. "What are you saying?" Gloria pulled another envelope from her bag. "The hospital switched our baby," she said. He stared at her. Then she handed him the second paper. "This is the name and details of the woman they may have given our child to. Colette Reed." Gloria sat beside Calvin on the bamboo bench, the mango tree casting long shadows across the yard. The envelope with Colette Reed's details rested between them like a weight neither of them knew how to carry. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Finally, Calvin looked up. "You're saying the hospital gave our baby to another woman?" Gloria nodded slowly. "That is what the records suggest." Calvin rubbed his forehead, trying to process everything. Just days ago, he had walked out of his home convinced his wife had betrayed him. Now the truth was far more complicated. "And the baby we have?" he asked quietly. Gloria looked toward the car where the child slept peacefully in the back seat. "He belongs to someone else too." The reality of it made Calvin feel sick. Their next stop was a lawyer. The attorney's office was small but orderly, with tall shelves filled with thick legal books. The lawyer, Mr. Thompson, listened carefully as Gloria explained everything. The pregnancy, the accusation, the DNA results, the nurse's confession. When she finished, the room was quiet. Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair and folded his hands. "This is a very serious matter," he said calmly. "If the hospital switched your baby, whether by mistake or negligence, several legal steps must happen before anything else." Calvin leaned forward. "We just want our child back." "I understand," the lawyer replied, "but the law must confirm the truth first." He opened a notebook and began listing the process. "Step 1 is filing an official complaint against the hospital. We will request all delivery room records from the night your son was born. Every nurse on duty, every patient admitted, every newborn identification tag." Gloria nodded. "Step 2, the lawyer continued, is obtaining a court order for DNA testing involving all parties." "All parties?" Calvin asked. "Yes. You, Gloria, the baby currently in your care, Colette Reed, and the baby she's raising." Gloria swallowed. "So the court will confirm who belongs to who?" "Exactly," Mr. Thompson said. "Once the results confirm the biological parents, the court can make decisions about custody." Calvin shifted uncomfortably. "But if that child is ours, surely we can just take him back." Mr. Thompson shook his head gently. It is not that simple. Gloria frowned. Why not? Because Colette Reed has been raising that baby since birth. In the eyes of the law, she is currently the legal guardian. Even if the child is biologically yours, the court must supervise the transition carefully. Calvin's voice rose slightly. But that is our child. And the other baby, the lawyer replied calmly, is hers. The room went silent again. Mr. Thompson continued explaining. The court will likely order supervised meetings first. Both families will meet the children gradually while psychologists observe the emotional impact. Gloria felt her heart tighten. You mean, we cannot just take him home? Not immediately, he said gently. The court's priority is the children's well-being. They have bonded with the parents who raised them, even if the situation was caused by hospital negligence. Calvin sighed heavily. This is a nightmare. There is also the matter of liability, the lawyer added. If the hospital is responsible for the switch, they can face a major lawsuit for medical negligence, emotional distress, and damages. Gloria barely heard that part. Her mind was fixed on one thing. My son, she whispered. Mr. Thompson closed the file. I will file the case with the family court tomorrow. Once the judge reviews the evidence, Colette Reed will be contacted and ordered to appear. Calvin looked at Gloria. Do you think she knows? He asked quietly. Gloria shook her head. I don't think any mother could know something like that. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was filled with tension. Colette Reed sat on the opposite side of the courtroom beside her baby's father, Dwight Russell. In his arms, he held the small boy with curly hair and wide, curious eyes. Gloria felt her breath catch. The child looked like Calvin, not the man holding him. The same eyes, the same chin. Colette shifted uneasily as the judge began to speak. You are not accused of any wrongdoing, the judge said gently. However, new evidence suggests that 2 infants may have been mistakenly exchanged at the hospital. Colette slowly looked down at the boy in Dwight's arms. You mean he might not be ours? Her voice trembled. The judge nodded. That is why the court has ordered DNA testing for everyone involved. The tests were conducted that same week. The waiting felt endless. When the courtroom filled again days later, the air felt heavy with anticipation. The judge opened the report. The DNA analysis confirms that the child currently raised by Colette Reed is the biological son of Gloria and Calvin. Gloria felt Calvin's hand tighten around hers. And the infant raised by Gloria and Calvin is the biological child of Colette Reed. A murmur rippled through the courtroom, but the judge had not finished. He paused. Colette shifted nervously in her seat. However, the judge continued slowly, in the case of Mr. Russell. The room fell silent. The judge looked down at the final line of the report. Probability of paternity, 0%. For a moment, no one spoke. Colette's hand flew to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. Dwight stared at the baby, then at Colette. With shaking hands, he placed the child back into her arms. He stood frozen, the truth leaving him speechless. Then, without another word, Dwight lowered his eyes and stormed out of the courtroom. The judge removed his glasses and studied the room. What had begun as a paternity dispute had uncovered something far more disturbing. This court recognizes that a grave mistake occurred at the hospital, he said slowly. 2 infants were mistakenly exchanged at birth. The courtroom remained silent. Gloria felt Calvin tighten his grip around her hand. Across the room, Colette clutched the child to her chest. The judge continued. The DNA evidence confirms that the child currently raised by Miss Reed is the biological son of Gloria and Calvin. It also confirms that the infant raised by Gloria and Calvin is the biological child of Miss Reed. He leaned forward. Since both biological mothers are present before this court, and because the children are still infants, the court finds it appropriate to restore each child to their biological parent without delay. A quiet gasp moved through the courtroom. This exchange will be carried out under the supervision of the Court and Family Services to ensure the safety and welfare of both children. Gloria felt her heart begin to race. Two court officers stepped forward. A social worker moved quietly between the families. Colette stood slowly, holding the child she had been raising since birth. Her hands trembled as she walked toward the center of the courtroom. Across from her, Gloria rose to her feet. For a moment, the two mothers simply looked at each other. One mistake had tied their lives together in a way neither of them had ever imagined. The judge's voice broke the silence. This court orders that each child be returned to their biological parent. The social worker nodded gently. "Please," she said softly. Colette stepped forward first. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at the little boy in her arms. "I loved you," she whispered. Then she placed the child carefully into Gloria's waiting arms. Gloria's breath caught in her throat as she held him close. His tiny fingers curled around her hand, as if he had always known where he belonged. Across the room, the baby Gloria had raised since birth was gently passed into Colette's arms. Colette held him tightly, sobbing softly. For a moment, neither woman moved. The courtroom remained silent, everyone aware they were witnessing the end of a terrible mistake. The judge spoke again. "Let the record reflect that each child has now been returned to their biological parent." The gavel struck, and with that single sound, the truth that had nearly destroyed two families was finally set right. Cynthia remained seated in the courtroom. For the first time since all this began, the certainty she once carried was gone. Shame weighed heavily on her face. Slowly, she walked toward Gloria. "Gloria," she said quietly, her voice trembling, "I wronged you. I accused you of betraying my son. I doubted your character and nearly destroyed your marriage." She lowered her head. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Gloria looked at her calmly. "Miss Cynthia, I forgive you," she said softly. "If you had not insisted on that DNA test, we might have spent our entire lives raising someone else's child, believing he was ours." Cynthia's eyes filled with tears. "You were wrong about me," Gloria continued. "But because you pushed for the truth, we discovered what the hospital had done." Gloria gently placed the baby into Cynthia's arms. Cynthia looked down at him through tears. "My grandson," she whispered. Calvin leaned closer and offered his finger. The baby wrapped his tiny hand around it. Across the room, Colette rocked her own child, holding him tightly as tears continued to fall down her face. Gloria walked over and embraced her. "I am here for you," she said softly. "For you and your little one." The truth had finally put the children where they belonged. Yet for Colette, that truth came at a devastating cost. In that quiet moment, she realized she would have to learn how to live with it. The truth may arrive with pain, suspicion, and broken trust. But it is better to face it than to live a lifetime in a beautiful lie. In the end, the truth may not destroy us. It may lead to the realization that saves us. If you enjoyed this story, consider liking and subscribing to Word, Sound, and Story for more dramatic tales by Troy Mackenzie.